Coming up, new information tonight on the death of a North Dakota 18-year-old whose body was found in the Knife River. Thousands of Minnesota Republicans are gathering in Rochester this weekend to endorse party candidates for governor and other statewide offices. And a Grand Forks wife and mother is preparing to compete for the title of Mrs. North Dakota. Hello and welcome to the Nightly Review. I'm Tom Tucker. We begin with a look at tonight's headlines, then a closer look, with comments tonight from U.S. Senator John Hoeven pleading with President Biden to, quote, unleash the country's gas reserves. And my guest for tonight's one-on-one conversation is once again Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who says he's getting ready to focus on his re-election campaign. We talk about that and his response strategy to COVID-19 and what he has learned while governing through the pandemic. But first tonight, police are investigating the death of an 18-year-old Beulah resident, Ty Schaefer. Police now believe his death was an accident. Investigators also say non-illicit substances may have played a role in the teen's death, and they say there's no indication of foul play. Schaefer's body was recovered from the Knife River Wednesday night. The body has been sent for autopsy by the state medical examiner. The body of a Fargo man has been recovered from an Arkansas creek. The sheriff's office in Pulaski County says a body found in a creek near I-40 has been identified as Jordan Simeon. He was last seen outside Little Rock on March 6th after his car broke down. Investigators are waiting for the results of an autopsy. His sister previously said Jordan was heading to New Orleans to start a new life. Thousands of Minnesota Republicans are gathering in Rochester this weekend for the state party convention. Delegates are set to endorse candidates for governor and other statewide offices. Besides the 6 candidates for governor, the roughly 2,200 delegates are set to vote on party endorsements for Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Auditor. Delegates have until 6 o'clock Saturday night to make their endorsements. One of the big events, the annual events for the FM Metro, is set to return next week, and along with it, millions of dollars in business for local merchants. The Essentia Health Fargo Marathon is returning to its standard schedule for the first time since 2019, with 5 days of events packing the Metro calendar from Monday, May 16th to Saturday, May 21st. The event was canceled in 2020 because of COVID-19, and in 2021 was pushed back to late September for the same reason. A Grand Forks wife and mother of 4 is preparing to compete in the Mrs. North Dakota pageant. Jessica Rarick is a busy mom with a full-time job at U.S. Foods. She won the title of Mrs. Red River Valley America earlier this spring. She'll compete for the state title May 22nd. If she wins, she'll represent her home state at the national competition in Las Vegas in August. Longtime Fargo School Board member Brian Nelson is seeking re-election, and he's asking for your vote.
With my knowledge of all the things that I've come across over the 34 years of being in public schools, so I feel I can continue to add to make good decisions for our kids so that they can receive a good education.
Brian Nelson is one of 15 candidates vying for the 5 open positions on the Fargo School Board. He says he hopes to alleviate staffing shortages in the district and address mental health concerns. The Minnesota House is advancing a measure that would legalize sports betting. The bill would allow Minnesotans to place bets in person and online. The measure passed on a bipartisan vote. The Senate has not yet held a hearing for its version of a proposed sports betting bill. If you like to fish, you could be among the anglers preparing for Minnesota's fishing opener. The season begins tomorrow, and the opener is a unique tradition in Minnesota. The State Department of Natural Resources Fisheries Manager Brad Parsons says fish may be shallower and could respond better to live bait. Parsons also says smaller lakes will be warmer and could lead to more successful fishing. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is confirming 1 death after severe storms hit several parts of the state last night. About 50 National Guard members were activated last night to help in areas with extensive damage. Dozens of storm-related injuries are reported, some critical. At different points during the storm, more than 25,000 people were without power across southeastern South Dakota. Authorities say no one was hurt after an F-16 experienced problems landing at Joe Foss Field in Sioux Falls. The fighter jet assigned to the 114th Fighter Wing went off the end of a runway around 2:45 Wednesday afternoon. after returning from a routine training mission. Officials say no one was injured, and the cause of the accident is under investigation. In a closer look tonight, U.S. Senator John Hoeven is pleading with the Biden administration to issue permits to, quote, unleash the country's gas-rich reserves to help battle rising costs at the pump.
The energy policy of the Biden administration is a big part of the problem in terms of creating the inflation that we face. Once again, urge the Biden administration to reverse course on their harmful energy agenda and instead take the handcuffs off our domestic energy producers.
Hoeven says the spike in gas prices has been steady since Biden officially took office and is not solely due to the Russian military action in Ukraine. Hoeven says President Biden needs to take the handcuffs off American energy.
Americans are struggling to afford to fill their tanks and to keeping the lights on. Higher energy prices are fueling record inflation. The latest statistic, 8.3%, driving up the cost of goods across the entire economy.
Senator Hoeven says legislation like his American Energy Independence from Russia Act would take immediate action to increase the country's energy production and help alleviate prices at the pump. Well, thanks for watching the Nightly Review and for choosing this as your source for news and information for the FM Metro. Please remember to subscribe and use the bell button below to make sure you're always up to date. Weather-wise tonight, gusty winds blowing across the region, and that's been the case for much of the day. When will those winds die down? Meteorologist Dean Wysocki has the forecast from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Thanks, Tom. It will continue to be a little on the windy side this evening. Winds will lighten up a little bit overnight tonight under partly cloudy skies. Drop down to about 47, and winds will be out of the southwest to west at about 15 to 30. A little choppy for the fishing opener, Minnesota, tomorrow. A few morning showers possible with highs in the 60s and a west wind going about 15 to 35 and a little gusty. Pick day of the weekend, though, looks to be Sunday. Lighter winds and temperatures into the mid-60s. Get out and enjoy Sunday.
It could happen to you or someone you love. One moment, one diagnosis can change everything. Thankfully, there's a program that helps caring people uplift families through a crisis. Lend a Hand Up, raising financial help and hope through community benefits and online campaigns. A program that boosts generosity so gifts go further. Lend a Hand Up helps you help your neighbors. Learn more and give at lendahandup.org.
Welcome back to the Nightly Review. In tonight's one-on-one, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz joins me once again for part two of our in-depth conversation. With the legislative session coming to an end, the governor says he's now getting ready to put more focus on his re-election campaign. While he looks ahead, I asked Walz to look back on his term, specifically at his response to COVID-19. I asked him what he learned while governing through the pandemic and what he would change, if anything, with regard to his response strategy.
Well, I think what I knew and learned, and especially here in Minnesota, is the ability to build public-private partnerships is the key to this, of getting, whether it be Ecolab or the Mayo Clinic or the business community to try and work together. I think we took a pretty moderate response when there's some states said, let it go, and their death rates are high. Other states said, lock it down, and their economic recovery isn't as strong. When all these things were taken into consideration and they ranked the states, Minnesota ranked as one of those top 5 best states. I think one of the lessons that I've learned is to try the best we can on the front end to try and build bipartisan cooperation around that. I'm really proud that the legislature here a week ago put about $190 million into an account to allow me to continue to manage the pandemic. What they understand is they don't work fast enough, nimble enough, or have the ability to go, and that we need to have, in this case, executive responsibility to move. So I think the lesson I learned on that is do even more work to try and build the bipartisan support, even if it's not the legislature's purview to implement some of these things. Make sure that you're doubling down to try and tell them the importance of why we're doing it. And I think here that's starting to sink in. I think the legislature's overwhelming vote in support of giving that money to the executive branch shows that they understand that we're managing this to the best of our ability.
Why are you seeking a second term, and what reasons would you give to voters for supporting you once again?
Yeah, first of all, I think we've created effectiveness in government. I came into this, our biggest issue facing us in early 2019 was we had a driver's license system that was broken. And I took a new approach to that in a public-private partnership, brought Republicans in, and we fixed that. We now have an efficient, modern system that serves our constituents. It was a model for how I go about solving problems. That I am not, and I have a long career of this both in Congress and now as governor, I'm not ideologically rigid. What I want is problem solving. And I think of watching us manage, again, some of the most challenging health, public safety, economic issues that we've navigated well. We put Minnesota in a good position. And I will keep saying this. I have done it through multiple administrations. I did it through President Trump's administration, now President Biden's administration, that I do so with the respect and dignity for the system. And I think even those critics who disagree, they think I got COVID wrong, they think we didn't handle this wrong. I would say, if they're being honest, that I don't go out of my way to demonize folks. I try and base it on facts. And time again, when they said, who's responsible, I've said me, whether it was figuring out how to test and vaccinate Minnesotans, or whether it was to try and figure out how do we make sure that there's equity and safety in our communities. So I'm going to make the case that I think we have the opportunity and we're poised to continue to move forward. We're a leading state in so many areas.
I'd like to thank Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for joining me for tonight's one-on-one conversation. Now be sure to watch Monday night when I question Walz about his thoughts on the turmoil and property destruction which happened in the Twin Cities following the death of George Floyd, and whether he would have done anything differently in terms of his response to that crisis. Well, that will do it for this Friday night, May 13th, 2022. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review.